Well, hello there, my name is Peter Thomson. I'm delighted to welcome you to this message. It's difficult for many people who are involved in the coaching, consulting, speaking and training industry, what I call the helping industry, to set their fee rate at such a level that they attract the clients they actually want to work with and at the same time make the amount of money that's fair and reasonable and just that they get paid for the differences they make to other people's lives. The reason I started with this piece of paper is that it was given to me by a friend of mine. It's folded up, and if you could quite see, if I hold it up like that, you can see it's almost like a little shirt. There's the sleeves there and there's the collar there. But it's actually, if I unfold it, you'll see that it is really a £50 note. And this friend of mine is a wealthy friend of mine. He gave me this £50 note one day. And he makes a habit of doing this with people he likes. And he said, Peter, put this in your wallet and never again will you ever have the problem of thinking that you don't have any money. He knew I didn't really have the problem anyway, but it was a great idea. And this, of course, resonates with the idea of the difference between poor and broke. You know, poor is a state of mind and broke is a state of pocket. So today I want to talk about that fascinating subject of money, which is such a force for good when used properly. Helps the world go round and enables me and you to build for ourselves a business and a life of choice. So I'd like to talk to you about some ideas that I've picked up over the last 27 years on how to set your fee rate at such a level that you're feeling uncomfortable with it, or comfortable with it eventually, and that it's right for your clients and that they're getting value delivered for what it is that you do for them. Or in other words, the outcome that they get reflects the income that you get. So I made a list of the possible factors that would influence why we get paid or why we set a certain fee rate, and here they are. The first one for me, and this really is the number one, is driven by that three-letter question, why? Or in other words, what is the reason, what is the purpose that you do what you do? And I've found that once I discovered for myself, I suppose, was discovery the right word? Okay, once it came to me that what my purpose was and I was clear about it, it made it even easier for me to talk about money. I have written down here, I'm not going to read it out for you, but I have written down here my purpose. And I read this at the start of every day because it just keeps me on track, and it means that, forgive the pun here, that my life and my business is on purpose. So if you haven't yet had the time to sit down, to think about, to discover, to come across your purpose in life so it resonates clearly with who you are, then I would urge you to open your mind to that idea. It may already be open, perhaps open it even more, because once you have that right, then it makes life easier. I remember Jill Fielding, a friend of mine, saying to me that she was really clear on her purpose, which was to light the spark of financial possibility for as many people as she could reach in her lifetime. I mean, isn't that just beautifully and succinctly said? And what it enabled Jill to do, she told me, was that every morning when she got up, if she looked at what she was about to do, if it resonated, if it was in alignment, if it was true to that purpose, she would do it. And if it wasn't, she wouldn't. Now she's a very strong character, as you may know if you've met her, and if you haven't met her, I'd urge you to meet her. Jill Fielding. If you want to know about money and investments, that sort of thing, she is the person to go to. So number one is the reason. Secondly is to think about the results or value that you deliver to your client. What is it worth to them? And therefore, what is it worth to you? Because again, as I mentioned earlier, it's their outcome compared to your income. So if you actually sat down and asked a question of yourself, which was, what are the outcomes that I get from my clients? Or what are the values that I deliver to my client? And you listed all of those, which I've done in the past, you'll find that this just brings for you so much power, so much belief, so much confidence in what it is that we do, that when it comes to talking about fees, it becomes less of a problem. As you've heard me talk before, I interviewed Roy H. Williams, a brilliant genius of a man in America and known as the Wizard of Ads, and he taught me the difference between the relational client and the transactional customer. And so if we're really sure who we're attracting this relational client, we know that the money side of the arrangement that we make with them is only one factor. It's not the factor. Yes, it's a factor, but it isn't the factor. The next point is this, and I'll just move my notes around here, is the value that you place on your life, the value you place on your time. I remember chatting to a client with whom I had a lot of rapport, and he asked me to reduce my fee rate. I knew he was playing because we just had a good time together. He knew it wasn't going to happen. And I said to him quite jokingly, but with serious intent, I said, Mike, his name was, Mike, I said, I wonder if you could tell me the shop that I can go to where I can buy another day of my life. And he already knew where I was getting to. And he's, no, I don't know that one. I said, no, I don't know it either. And until there is one, then I can't change the value that I'm prepared to swap a day of my life for, an irreplaceable day of my life for. And of course, it's not just the work that we do, is it, with our clients, whether we're coaching, consultant, speaking or training. And I've done most of those over life, not very much on the coaching side. I'm too prescriptive to be a good coach, and I know some really good coaches who aren't. But once we know what it is that we're doing, once we know the value we're delivering, once we know that it's the prep time as well as the delivery time that we're swapping our time for money for, then why on earth would we swap it for the wrong price? I'm sure we wouldn't. Next one is, are you positioned as a Me Too offering in the marketplace? And obviously I don't mean Me Too in the way that that expression is being used in the media these days, but I mean in the sense of, is there no differentiation between what it is that you offer or the way in which you offer it, or your positioning or credibility in your marketplace, so that puts you in the position, unfortunately, of people shopping you as a commodity. We have to make certain, don't we, that we are differentiated in our chosen marketplace, even if that's by the way we dress, or by the way we speak, or the way we look, or the products that go along with our offering, the additional values. Do we have a book that we've authored? Do we have an audio program or a video series that separates us from the plethora of offerings that are out there? So what about the scarcity of you as a resource? I remember once going into my diary, in front of, I was chatting about this with a client recently, and I wrote on every single day, this was September, and I wrote on every single day from September to the end of the year the word no. And this reminded me to say no to things that I'd previously been saying yes to far too easily, and certainly saying no to work at the wrong price. So it was having that strength, that belief in the fact that the world will bring the amount of business to me that I've decided through my goals, and we'll talk about that in a moment or two, that was definitely going to happen, and therefore I was comfortable in saying no to the wrong thing. It's just a simple little technique. You could put it in your phone, you could put it as a reminder that popped up every day, or you could put it in your calendar or diary or whatever it is that you use. And just that word no reminds me and you to say no to some things, not to everything, but to say no to some things. So there is this scarcity of you as a resource. The next one then is your belief in yourself. As another good friend of mine, Jeff Pettit, says, he's an ex-football referee, in the sense of he's not doing that full time as far as I'm aware at the moment. And Jeff has this fantastic expression, I wish I'd written this, it's a genius expression, which is this: most people reach the limit of their belief well before they reach the limit of their talent. Most people reach the limit of their belief well before they reach the limit of their talent. And isn't that so true when it comes to their belief in the amount of money that they should charge? So how high is your belief in yourself? And therefore that links to your value. What about the confidence that you have in your service and the results you can achieve for your clients? Is it that what you're offering to do, and I'm sure this is the case, that you actually can do? You can deliver on the promise of your marketing and your sales? Because when our confidence is high, when our belief is high, when we are acting in alignment with who we are, then it's far easier to be charging the right rate. Part of the challenge with charging the right fee rate is our experiences with money over life. And we may have had times in life when we were broke. You've heard, my expression, poor is a state of mind, broke is a state of pocket. I wish I'd written it, wasn't me. But that's so true, isn't it? And if we've had experience in our lives where money has been a difficulty, sometimes that can put us into a scarcity mentality and instead of an abundance mentality. And we sometimes need to leave those old beliefs behind. The programming of our parents, our teachers and our peer group will play an influence in how we think about money, and therefore how we value the amount of time we're going to spend with a client. Another point here is the strength of our goals. I know that when we are really committed to the goals that we've set for ourselves, then we're far more prepared to do what needs to be done in order to achieve them. As Albert Ian Gray says in his amazing piece of work, which is called The Common Denominator of Success, he says that successful people focus on pleasing outcomes, in other words, goals, whereas failures focus on pleasing actions. It's good to have pleasing actions, but it's even better to have pleasing results. So focusing on those results and knowing that we need to do what needs to be done in order to get those results means that we're more confident in quoting our fee rates. Here's a different one that most people don't really consider from the conversations I've had with people. When I say to people, can you tell me, in appropriate conversation obviously, your financial goals? And people say, yes, I can. That's not that many who can actually say yes, that have the clarity about their financial goals. And you've heard me mention before one of the great expressions I love from the Chip and Dan Heath book on decision making called Decisive. And that is that resistance is created through a lack of clarity. Brilliant expression. Resistance is created through a lack of clarity. I ask people, do you have clarity about your financial goals? Do you know, for example, in the next 12 months or the end of this year, how much money you're targeting to make? In fact, probably it should have said better as how much you're targeting to earn, as it said on Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. We don't make money, that's the job of the mint. We earn money, and that's a different mindset, isn't it? So a few people say, yes, they have that clarity. But when I ask them the next question down, which is how much is it? Usually, because of the relationship, they'll tell me, so that's good. And some will then have fudged the answer there because they actually hadn't got the clarity on it. But when I ask them the next question down, which is, and what are you going to spend it on? They don't. Very few people know the answer to that question. And so I would urge you, and again, this is something that I've done, so I know how this works well, is to sit down and say, what's the money I want to spend or save, and save in the next, say, 12 months? How much do I want to spend on each of the areas, on the people, on the things of my life, on the contributions that I make, on the savings that I have, on anything else that I might need or want to spend the money on? Because once we have the clarity on how much we want to spend, we get greater clarity on how much we need to earn. Next point, and coming towards the end now. How often have you tested your fee rate? I know that I've done a number of tests over life. I probably haven't tested often enough. You get a bit comfortable at times in life and think, oh no, this is working and I won't bother testing it. But I have made some very bold tests over life and usually they've worked out. And usually, and surprisingly, the higher the fee rate I was charging as a mentor, consultant, speaker, trainer, the more work I got. Isn't that a strange thing? Or maybe not so, that when we position ourselves with that level of belief to be able to say with confidence, this is my fee rate, then I think that makes a difference in the marketplace, makes a difference to how we communicate, makes a difference in how we do our marketing, our sales, our videos, everything that we do. It changes who we are because of that level of belief. So I think that we do need to keep on testing it. And a couple of last things here is, the next one is having a flexible approach to pricing. And by this I mean that there's no reason why we should not change our prices based on the outcome that somebody gets. So for example, to help someone deliver an outcome of 10 might determine one price, but to get them an outcome of 1,000, that it's fair and reasonable that we are rewarded at a higher level. And the final point is this: when it comes to pricing, it's absolutely certain that we need to live in a little village just south of Arrogance. And Arrogant, just south of, is north of Confident. It is at the level above confidence. We are totally confident in our ability to deliver the outcome. We are totally confident in our belief in ourselves. We are totally confident that we are working in alignment with who we are and in alignment with our purpose in life. That all the other factors that I've mentioned in this message are true. And when we're doing that, we are more than confident, we are super confident. And it's that super confidence without arrogance, without cockiness, that attracts clients to us and makes them want to work with us. Why? because they are more certain that they are going to get the outcome that they want. And isn't that what you and I do in the helping industry? We help people either resolve a problem that they've got in their lives or capitalize on an opportunity that they have in their lives. So not only can we help them get the outcomes that they want, but that we can get the outcomes that we want. I'm sure you've got comments on this, because money is always a challenging subject. So if you will, please just add your comments below and we'll start a conversation or a dialogue and we'll see where it takes us. I'm always open to learning more. So in the meantime, I would urge you to test your prices in the marketplace to make sure that you are being rightfully, richly and royally rewarded for the positive difference you make to so many people's lives. And because of that, you're able to build for yourself a business and a life of choice. I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm not even sure what it is yet, but probably it'll be a link from this. Hope you enjoyed this. I did. See you. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Then click to watch the next video. Remember to visit our website at peterthomson.com and download your free copy of my latest book, How to Write Your Business Book in 5 days or less. Until next time, every success.